I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. And today we're going to address the question, is Helio dead? What? Some of you are like, what's going on with Helio? Yeah, we'll get to that. But before we get to that, I am going to acknowledge that I am making this recording while I am driving my car. And some of you guys freak out when I do that. So look, I'm driving, my eyes are on the road, my hands are on the wheel, the camera is on a tripod. I'm just talking and driving at the same time. This is something that everyone in the world who drives does. Sometimes you have a passenger, sometimes you have a Bluetooth on, a speakerphone in your car. It's all good. Nothing dangerous is happening here. Everything is fine. Just talking and driving. It's okay. Let's just get on the same page about why anybody's asking the question, is Helio dead? Because right now, some of you are just like, hey, something going on with Helio? And the answer is yes. Something is definitely going on with Helio. So Helio, the main person who seems to talk for Helio on the internet is Tim Sweet. And Tim Sweet has not been responding to messages for, I'm not sure the exact time frame, but it's like at least 2 months, maybe longer. I could have to look and see the last time he responded to a message from me. And it's not just Tim, but the other guys involved are Sean Poole, and then there's Kalen Dorr. And Tim and Sean are kind of the business guys. Kalen is kind of the coder. Kalen doesn't often respond to messages, but he usually responds to me when I reach out to him. And these guys just haven't been answering messages. And not just from me. They haven't been posting on Facebook. And in fact, that's pretty weird because Tim especially has been really prolific. And this is the most telling thing. They haven't been answering contacts from their own vendors. So companies like PyroFlip, and I talked to Serge, from the owner of PyroFlip, about this, like they owe them product. PyroFlip has paid them money in exchange for flight controllers that they have to deliver, and they have just not been they haven't delivered, and they haven't been responding to people reaching out to them saying, hey, where's my product? They're just not responding at all. So this is not good. Anytime a company stops responding to their customers for 2 or 3 months, that's bad. That's not a good sign. And when they stop responding to their vendors, that's really, like, at the very least, it's incredibly unprofessional, and at the worst. See, here's the thing that's got people so confused. It's like, whatever your circumstances might be that are causing you to flip out or whatever, like, you could fire off an email. You could post at somewhere and say, hey guys, we are not going to be able to make any public comments for the next 3 months because we can't say why, but we just won't be talking. Just to completely drop off the radar as if you don't exist. That's really weird. So people are asking, what's the deal? One of the things people have proposed is that this is related to the lawsuit between Flight One and the Helio guys. And I'm not going to dive into the details of that lawsuit. In fact, Preston Garrison, the owner of Flight One, has posted a video over on his channel talking a little bit more in depth about the lawsuit and the status of the lawsuit. But here is a fact. The fact is that the lawsuit settled recently. And we know this. Preston has said this publicly, but also you can look there's a thing called PACER, which is a public database of court filings. And you can see that there was a filing in their case, a motion for settlement, which means that these guys have finally reached a settlement. And some people have conjectured that the silence of the Helio guys is related to the settlement, like that the settlement might have a gag order in it of some kind. Preston has said that it does not, that there's nothing in the settlement that would prevent them from talking. Not having seen the settlement, you have to decide whether he's telling the truth about that, but he's talking publicly. So if there was a gag order, presumably it would apply to both parties. I don't know about that. Again, regardless, it doesn't seem like anything in the settlement would prohibit them from saying, hey, we're still alive and we just can't talk to you. I've been digging to try and see if I can get anybody to talk on record about this. I haven't been able to get a response from Tim Sweet. I did get a response from Kalen Dorr just a couple days ago, so he is still alive. And his response basically said, hey, the last year of working 16-hour days, 24/7, 7 days a week, has taken its toll on me, and for health reasons, I'm not able to be more active. So that's all I've gotten. But nobody is speaking about the question that is really on everybody's lips, which is, what is the future of this company? What is the future for the people who have bought this hardware and now are wondering whether they will be able to get support for it? And that's what I'd like to talk to you about right now. In my opinion, and this is based on both public statements that some people have made and also some off-the-record statements that people made to me that I'm not able to repeat. In my opinion, it's very likely that the Helio project as we know it is no more. The IMUF code that runs on the F3 coprocessor, that is all, no one has the source code to that except the Helio guys. And they would have to release it to another entity for them to sort of pick up the coding on it. And I think I'm skeptical that they would do that. The Butterflight project, which is linked to the Helio project, I think it's likely that it's also gone. But since Butterflight is open source, it's possible that anyone else who took the initiative could pick it up and continue to work on it. The question is anyone going to do that? And I don't know. That's a lot of work. The Helio guys were putting work into Butterflight, and it was sort of like, but Helio was what was like paying the bills, I think. That's my impression. So are another group of programmers gonna download that code base and keep developing it? That's not impossible. But so far, no one has, as far as I know, no one has said, yes, we're going to do that. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's work, it's commits to the code that matter, not intentions. So if anybody intends to do that, speak up now. But for the time being, I think that Butterflight and Helio, I don't see how they can continue. I especially don't see how Helio can continue to exist under its current ownership. If Tim and Sean and Kaylin decided that they wanted to come out of retirement and keep the project going, it's hard to believe that any vendors would want to do business with them again after they went just radio silent for 3 months, leaving vendors sort of holding the bag. Remember, Helio has a replacement program. Hang on, a car was doing something weird and I had to pay attention. Remember, Helio has a replacement program where vendors are told that they can take broken Helio boards back and then they'll replace them, and the vendors send them back to Helio and get credit for them. There are vendors who have Helio boards right now that they're expecting to be paid for, and I mean, they're just left holding the bag. So the only way I could see Helio coming back as a company would be if someone else came out of the woodwork, bought the company off of Tim and Sean and Kaylin, and then like resurrected it under new management. But again, especially given the status of the lawsuit and settlement and so forth, it's hard to imagine anybody doing that. As far as the settlement goes, some people have wondered if the settlement is what killed the company. If like there's a bunch of money that they now owe Flight 1 as a result of the settlement. And it's important to say, Preston has said publicly that that is not the case. That his sort of shorthand description of the terms of the settlement is basically, you do your thing, we'll do our thing, just stop slandering us. So if you're wondering if like there's money in the settlement that ended the company, like Pavel Spikowski, who has a YouTube channel, posted a for sale listing for Tim Sweet's house, and people wondered, well, was that for sale to like raise money for the settlement that they would then pay to Flight 1? And Preston has said in no uncertain terms that that is not the case, that Flight 1 has not received any money in the settlement from the Helio guys. So if Tim Sweet sold his house, that is unrelated to the settlement. Maybe he owed, this is pure conjecture, maybe he owed money to the lawyers and had to sell his house to pay money to the lawyers, or maybe he just decided to sell his house. I just don't know. But that money did not go to Flight 1, as far as Preston Garrison has said. So the real question that I want to close the video with is, if you've got a Helio board today, what should you do with it? And the first answer is just keep flying it. If you're happy with how it flies, just keep flying it. It's not like it's going to stop working. And eventually you'll crash it into a tree or run it over with a car or lose it in a lake or lose it in the top of a tree like we do. Eventually you'll break it or lose it and you'll get something else. And I do think if you shouldn't buy a Helio board today, because I think software support for it is most likely just dead. I think that's very likely. But keep flying it. If you want to, you can put Betaflight on it. Betaflight can run on the Helio board, and assuming the Betaflight devs are the ones who are actually building the target, I'm not actually sure if that's true, but if that is true, then support will continue to be rolled out as Betaflight continues to release new versions. So just keep running Betaflight on it if you like. If you want to jump ship to a different flight controller, then there are many options. Now, there are many great just Betaflight flight controllers if that's the direction you want to go. But I think if you were running a Helio, you probably are not the kind of person who wants just, okay, I guess I'll just run a JBF4 with Betaflight on it. You probably want something a little bit different. And I've got a video out where I went over truly unique flight controllers for people who want something a little different. And these include things like the Flight 1 flight controllers, which are unique because they run Flight 1, and that's where you can get all of your 32 kilohertz, Kalman, filtering, goodness, whatever, all that stuff that Helio might have been doing, we don't know. Well, Flight 1 might also be doing it. We kind of don't, but there you go. That includes flight controllers like the Brain FPV Radix, which actually goes completely the other direction. Instead of doing high sampling rates, the Brain FPV Radix does very low sampling rates, but uses a high-quality Bosch gyro, which is supposed to give ultra-clean gyro readings and lets you have great smooth-flying quads without doing 32K. So it includes boards like the SP Racing F7 from CleanFlight, which has dual gyros used simultaneously in a sensor fusion setup that gives it, again, super good, super clean gyro readings, great signal-to-noise ratio, and so forth. Check out that video about truly unique flight controllers for some other ones that might sort of scratch that itch to be flying something just a little bit different than the everyday. That's going to bring us to the end of this video. Is Helio dead? The short answer is, it sure seems like they're dead. There just doesn't seem to be any signs of life from the company. It is always possible that someone will resurrect the Butterflight code base. All it would take is a couple motivated coders to just sit down and put in the hours of work. The code is out there. And yes, I know, Butterflight and Helio are not the same thing, but they've always been very closely intertwined. So I think those two questions are very similar. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Happy flying.